inequalities are growing. Unless we address these challenges, our view is that we are sitting on a time bomb.
Thina-ke ngayindlela okusebenzeka ngayo kuyacaca ukuthi umuntu omnyama nje akekho.
We've said this many a times that South African cane growers does not represent the interests of black emerging farmers.
Cane Growers is committed to continuing the journey of transformation. We need to continue working at it and transforming and evolving, and we're doing our level best to do that.
All we are advocating for is that we represent ourselves in the sugar industry so that we become the voice of those black farmers and those voiceless farmers.
To us, they're anarchists who are wanting to destroy our organization and the unity of growers.
I thought I was familiar with the sugar industry. I'm not. I've learned much from the last few meetings, and know one thing: this committee will not undertake any illegal action. We will not. Or any action that'll take us to the Constitutional Court. We will work within the Constitution, and we will require you, DG, to address this matter with urgency.
We are actually excited by the timeline given to the 12th of December. We don't have very much hope on the process, because cane growers is still 50% of the decision making of the 12th. But we have so much faith in the fact that then DTI steps in and imposes a solution.
One of our constitutional duties as legislators is to amend, to review, first of all the legislation. Does that mean amendment? Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it does.
These rotten piles of sugarcane are months of hard work and investment gone to waste, destroyed not by forces of nature, but apathy. For Sibisi Mchali, a small farm in Kwaingingi in Ndlovu, survival is difficult, like a hopeless adventure.
Owethu moba uma nje uze uphelelwe amandla. Thina-ke ngayindlela okusebenzeka ngayo kuyacaca ukuthi umuntu omnyama nje akekho.
Black cane growers were illegals, including one of our key members, President of the African National Congress, Chief Albert Tiltuli, who was an avid investor in this. All of them were illegals because before 1978, black growers were not recognized as farmers.
His plight is not isolated. There are thousands of cane growers working on communal land and marginal land reform farms still awaiting a support system to pull them out of their historical disadvantages. In this case, their produce is rotting due to alleged differential treatment.
Our black trucks have been parked, and we can see white trucks coming in and out of the mill as they please. So there's a tractor that's been parked here from yesterday, and you can only imagine, Guti, what does it mean to that cane that is parked here? What does it mean to the owner of the truck? In terms of tonnage, black farmers are a minority, but they are given the last preference at the mill with that small tonnage, when in fact they should be. In actual fact, the system is skewed to the big guys at the moment, and we are saying it can't be. These are the black people. These are the black people. The industry flashes at government to say we are representing a black development. We have a footprint in the rural economy, but it's that very same economy that they are squeezing to death. That's why the demise of the black farmers. They can't even access the mill timelessly. They are parked. Their tractors get parked until such time that there's an opening. They are brought in, but commercial guys just come in and out as they please.
Siyabonga Madlala has picked up the cudgels on behalf of these farmers. He believes that 24 years after liberation, race still makes the small-scale cane growers subject to exploitation.
I think we've seen, and it's been loudly expressed everywhere, that black farmers are still faced with an inequality gap in the sugar industry, and they have inherent challenges which hail from the apartheid and colonialist regime. What saddens me is how the system muscles out black participants and black farmers in this industry. The reality is black contractors are sabotaged deliberately so that they can be shown to be failures. Their trucks are kept here waiting almost the whole day, which means that they can't go back to pick up the more cane from the zones, which we saw back there, that there will be a crane waiting to load.
This inequality is being perpetuated by an apartheid-era law. The Sugar Act of 1978 authorizes South African Cane Growers Association to receive 100% of the growers' levies. This money meant to help the small farmers is given to them by South African Sugar Association. The emerging farmers, who happen to be mostly black, feel Cane Growers Association does not serve their interests, favoring the dominant white farmers instead.
The levies that are due to those farmers be paid over to an organization that actually then takes over the responsibility of developing and fixing those problems with those farmers. We've said this many a times, that South African cane growers does not represent the interests of black emerging farmers.
We need our levies from so-called South African cane growers, which was formulated by white monopoly capitalists. So these levies have been taken from us for decades. If I may say, fraudulently.
The rumblings grew louder in 2015 when the cane growers refused to help small-scale growers to apply for funding because they were not willing to manage their funds.
We had growers who went to see the MEC for Agriculture in KwaZulu-Natal on their own. They requested for money. They took him for a visit to show them their fields, as to how they were in need of assistance. The minister agreed to give them 2 tranches of money. Then the first money was going to be the 14 million rand, which was going to do, I would say, the quick interventions that needed to be done in terms of ratoon management. But when the MEC did that, he also made a promise to give them another tranche of money, which was not known at the time, but it later became known as the 55 million rand project, because the amount was going to be 55 million, which funding now requires that we are more prepared. Now we can't say we don't know where it's coming from. We know where it's coming from. We have all the time to work through it, and we did work through it. But there was a condition which growers had made when they were looking for this money from government, and government had agreed and understood their request. They said they don't want this money to go to the millers for their reasons, of their historical engagement with the millers whenever government makes money available. What was confusing is that at the time when we said we don't do development, we don't have capacity to manage that money, it was a time of drought, and we had already written to government asking for an amount to the extent. There were 2 amounts. The one was 140 million and there was 300 million. So the issue is, if government give us 55 million to support black growers, we say we don't have capacity to manage 55 million. But at the same time, we're writing a letter to government asking for 300 million to support mainly large-scale farmers with drought. You don't have capacity to manage 55 million, but you have capacity to manage 300 million and 140 million. What are we saying?
The disenchanted farmers wanted a union of their own. A union that works with them and for them to ensure they have access to the money they desperately need and deserve.
Well, let's just take a look at the timeline to which these events unfolded. First of all, we go to November of 2015. The SA Farm Development Association was formed. We move on to December of 2015. They approached the SASA and the South African Cane Growers Association for recognition. Then moving on to November 2016 until March of 2017, the agreements between the SA Farmers Development Association and the SA Cane Growers Association was signed and then again cancelled. We move on now to April of 2017, where the Department of Trade and Industry actually directed SASA and the South African Cane Growers Association to recognize SAFTA with immediate effect. Then we move on now to October of 2017. SAFTA approaches the Parliamentary Committee of Trade and Industry on this matter. Then we move on to the next November the 10th of 2017. The Trade and Industry Portfolio Committee directed SASA to amend its constitution to recognize SAFTA. Moving on now to November the 29th of 2017, the Department of Trade and Industry Committee instructs SASA to either recognize SAFTA by December the 12th or face dissolution.
The Department of Trade and Industry is convinced that the outcry for a new union is legitimate. Its Director General Lionel October concedes the government cannot allow status quo in sugar industry to continue. He is the one who signed the order to recognize Small Farmers Association last year.
If people want to use the law to frustrate the process, we will impose a solution.
But Cane Growers Association refuses to let go of its dominance. It has already defied 2 directives from the DTI Portfolio Committee to recognize SAFTA and give them access to the levies due to them.
It's painful that they won't even recognize the regulator. Cane Growers does not recognize their own regulator, the regulator, the DTI. They've given directives and they are threatening to take DTI to court. That shows the arrogance of these guys.
I thought I was familiar with the sugar industry. I'm not. I've learned much from the last few meetings. And know one thing, this committee will not undertake any illegal action. We will not. Or any action that will take us to the Constitutional Court. We will work within the Constitution, and we will require you, DG, to address this matter with urgency.
The SA Cane Growers Association hates the word transformation with everything they have. As we speak, they are spending every little cent they have to hire senior legal counsel, no matter how much they cost, even if it was not on budget, just to make sure that they fight against transformation. The sad thing is that they are using black growers' money to fight black growers, which is quite sensitive.
Cane Growers is not adverse to change. We welcome change. In the past, we've changed before many other organizations have changed. I think we can proudly say we're the most transformed sector of agriculture. And for us to be under this barrage of this assault against us, and particularly the attack as a lack of transformation, when show me somebody who's done more than we have. We've put our heart and soul into it. We're not saying we've achieved what we wanted to achieve. It's an ongoing process, and it's a continuous work in progress, and we will continue to try and achieve that.
The SACGA is flaunting an apartheid-era act to maintain and defend status quo. Sugar Act of 1978 recognizes South African Sugar Association as the body that can deduct levies from the farmers and then distribute it to recognize farmers' associations. Courtesy of this provision, SA Cane Growers Association gets all the levies meant for the growers. Black marginal farmers say the established farmers that dominate the SACGA are shutting them out.
Because of the legislation that's in place that governs the industry, we were given advice it would have been unlawful for us to comply with that.
Who had given you that advice?
Our legal counsel.
The Act is clear. The Act creates only one association, the Sugar Association. The members are the growers, are the millers, are the refiners. That's what the Act says. Everything else that has been introduced in this bin has been a ruse to keep certain people out of the industry. You cannot define in terms of the law in your definition and come up with a definition that limits the scope of the act, which is what has happened in this sector. We are saying the SA cane growers claim that they are the sole representative. It is not founded in law. It is not in the Sugar Act. It is not in the statute.
Around 57 million rand has been collected in levies this year. 90% of the farmers that contribute to this fund are disadvantaged. This money could go a long way to make their lives easier, but efforts to get access to funds are dismissed as nonsensical.
To us, they're anarchists who are wanting to destroy our organization and the unity of growers. If there's something that we don't offer, and they could be offering, then that would be great. We would be fully supportive of their efforts to do it.
I only learned that when I came to cane growers, to realize that actually they managed to get it away with it because they just don't care. They just do it. No matter who says what, they just don't care.
Cane Growers is committed to continuing the journey of transformation. We need to continue working at it and transforming and evolving, and we're doing our level best to do that.
This is an organization that uses blacks only for sessions such as this. I wasn't shocked when I saw 3 blacks sitting here and only 2 whites, or 1 white or 2 sitting on the side, because this is what we were there for. We are going to be used for sessions such as this, window dressing.
Svisum Guni should know what he's talking about. He was once on the board of Cane Growers Association, but quit in frustration. He says the only time Cane Growers officials would see value in a black person was when they wanted to use them for window dressing.
I can remember very well a time when we had to meet with the Department of Economic Development, and I was told a few days before the meeting that you are part of the delegation to go and see the department. And I asked, do I have to prepare anything for presentation? He said, no, don't worry. The presentation has already been done, it's gone. You just come dressed in your best suit and tie, just like I'm dressing now. But the difference now is that I'm given a chance to speak. There I was told I was not supposed to do anything, just come dressed in your best suit and tie. An insult, I took that as an insult. As if that was not enough. If you look at the delegation that SA Cane Growers presented today, you can see that the people who were brought here, they tried to make a little bit of more black so that we can be fooled and think that no, there's transformation taking place. But who are these people?
It was an awful experience for me. Yes, we were paid big money to be there, but they expected us to be quiet and silent as we are paid that big money. So the reality is, as a director of Cane Growers, I was never able to articulate and represent the plight of the black farmers because I was expected to keep quiet. They are good at that. It's unfortunate that we are faced with a brutal the worst form of corruption, fronting. Cane Growers works and thrives on fronting. They pick on those poor blacks who will appreciate being paid big money just to keep quiet and maintain the status quo. So as a director, unfortunately, I refused to be used, and then not only me, a few other black directors, we refused to be used as rendered faces, and we chose to represent ourselves.
Predominantly a white farmers association, the SACGA says the creation of a rival small farmers association will disturb the balance of power.
What is being proposed here by SAFTA is to go back to the past. It's to rewind the clock. It's to undo that transformation. We have a federation of growers and all represented under one body. To argue otherwise is nonsensical. And we urge everybody to look at the documentation pack, and they'll prove to you that we are representative of all cane growers from all regions in the sugar industry.
As the Constitution allows, freedom of association and formation of groupings, absolutely 100% comfortable with that and support that, as long as it doesn't jeopardize balance of power at the industry decision-making level. And that's the challenge we're currently working on, is finding a solution that can in fact cater for that and mitigate any risks on that front.
When someone asks, who does SAFDA represent? SAFDA represents the people who are actually, most of them, who were cane growers in the past, and some of them have no cane. SAFDA represents those people who, after nursing cane for the whole season, they take it to the zone and it rots in the zone.
It has been 2 years since the unions have been fighting, each claiming to champion the farmers' cause. Farmers like Sibusiso find themselves caught in the crosshairs. The withering of crops continues, and so does the blame game.
Thina nje ube allocation ukuthiwa incane uthothi ogandaganda bethu bayama la beme ngaphezulu ka-12 hours bengadilisi ungazi ngempela ukuthi kanti ungenze njani ngoba nosesemini ushayiwe ulele phansi nalo la emshinini ke awuthathwa kodwa ke inkampani ezinkulu zabamhlophe zona zifika nje zibe ingena la ngoba kuthiwa bona bane allocation enkulu.
An organization cannot run without resources. You need to have funds to pay for office space. You need to have funds to pay for your staff that you employ to actually do the actual development of these farmers. So ever since the walk away from cane growers, SAFDA was formed. In fact, the ex-CEO of cane growers joined us. A director of cane growers joined us. A black director as well joined us. We couldn't afford to keep them to pay their salaries because our levies are still taken by this giant, resistant organization. So the levies are more to run the organization and to be able to bring about the resources that the farmers are actually, in dire need of.
The 2-year-long bitter battle over the cane levies have now come to a head. The Parliamentary Portfolio Committee on Trade and Finance is fed up with efforts to frustrate the process of granting recognition to Farmers Development Association. Forced to crack the whip, the committee has given both the sugarcane levy regulatory bodies until the 12th of December to either comply or face dissolution.
Cane growers is enjoying the status quo. They're collecting all the poor farmers' levies, and they are enjoying the status quo, so there's no reason for them to change anything. So we are actually excited by the timeline given to the 12th of December. We don't have very much hope on the process because cane growers is still 50% of the decision-making of the 12th. But we have so much faith in the fact that then DTI steps in and imposes a solution.
We're here to ask one thing, that 1994 came. For whatever reason, good or bad, the sugar industry did not emigrate. When all of us transformed from the pre-1994 to post-1994, this industry was left behind. We are just asking that this industry be emigrated into the new South Africa.
Well, let's take a look now at how the Department of Trade and Industry actually cracked the whip and said that SAFDA must be recognized, or else SASA's special meeting on December the 12th must be implemented DTI's instructions. The next one there, as I said, if the South African Cane Growers Association resists the mediation or the agreement, they will be removed from SASA and the full membership will be given to SAFDA then. Moving on, they said that if SASA doesn't comply with the Department of Trade and Industry, will request Minister of Trade and Industry to amend the regulations to recognize SAFDA. The next one there is the DTI may ultimately request Parliament to amend the Sugar Act of 1978. And then the last one, the Department of Trade and Industry instructions are not implemented. They may change the laws to disband SASA and the South African Cane Growers Association.
That's what you are requesting, are you not, DTI, so that you can come to us and say, we wrote the letter, we have now reiterated in writing that this must be implemented. Parliament supports that implementation as envisaged in the letter. Can we have a report back in this committee before we rise at the end of the year?
A tough-talking DTI committee has rekindled hopes of a resolution for the emerging farmers. South African Sugar Association now must either recognize their association or have their resistance squashed by force. But this battle is not over yet. It is now up to the Department of Trade and Industry to defuse this ticking time bomb of open rebellion.